She's with us today to just give us a greeting, a good morning, or actually a good afternoon, and share some remarks before we get into our agenda. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see everyone. I see a couple of familiar faces here and folks that I am yet to meet, but look forward to getting to know you. As Shayla mentioned, I'm Yemi Akande Barch. I'm president and CEO of Focus St. Louis. And this past August, I celebrated my 10th year of being in community and being in service. You know, Shayla, as we were getting started today, I was looking on your wall and your bookshelf to see, okay, what are the new books that I need to put on my list? And if you guys don't know Shayla, I certainly say follow her. She has tons of recommendations. We were talking earlier before we started taping here today that we had some ideas that Shayla's going to work on that she didn't know about, but they've been percolating. So I expect to get an email from you later on this evening that you are sharing with me what additional thoughts have surfaced or what books to read. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Focus St. Louis, we are the region's premier civic leadership organization. We have a collective history of 50 plus years. And we originally started as two separate organizations, Confluence St. Louis and Focus Leadership St. Louis. And then 26 years ago, someone had the bright idea that wouldn't it be great if the two organizations were working collaboratively together. And since then, we've added additional programs, one of which is our Women in Leadership program, Emerging Leaders, that maybe one of two of you might be graduates of. Our Youth Leadership St. Louis program that Shayla also leads in her spare time. I lead our Leadership St. Louis program. We have our Experience St. Louis program for new executives and partners and spouses to town. We also have our Impact Fellows program, which is a program that we are actually relaunching for individuals that want to work on our region's stickiest issues. And the great thing about that program is the folks that have worked on some of the projects have gone on to get about $2.5 million of funding. So we are a community here. We are a family here. We always seek to work with our program participants across a breadth of sectors. We're also multi-sector, a breadth of issues, not just community issues, but also personal issues. And, you know, the theme song, It's My Time, I like to think of that as it is always your time. So step into your boldness. We're glad you're here. There's more to come. Shayla and Kate, you are in fantastic hands. And I can't wait to hear from our alums that are going to be joining us in a little bit in terms of how they have pivoted their careers. And Deanna, I haven't even said hi to you. I follow you on LinkedIn. I love what you are always saying. You always make me think. And I was like, Deanna, whew. I'm glad you said that. Someone needed to put it there. And also how you encourage folks too. It's like, hey, let's do a timeout. These are challenges that we're experiencing. We need to do right. We need to do better by our community. And we just need to have a moment of discernment. And Samantha, I see you too. Congratulations on your role. Excited to get to know all of you. And I'm going to conclude my comments here with one of the posters that Shayla has framed behind her there. And it's about, you know, just persistence, never, you know, giving up, always being persistent in what you do and always being resilient. And that's the power of women in our community today. So thank you, Shayla, for inviting me to join you here today.
Thank you, Yami. Again, everyone, we're so excited you're here. I'm going to share my screen so that we can get into the agenda. I want to use your time well. I know that some of you, this might be your lunch hour and you're like, I'm going to eat and listen. That's okay. Please feel free if you're munching on something, go ahead. If you're, you know, got a little one, we've had a couple of even of our alums who've got little ones or are sick, it's okay. Snuggle them and listen in. If you feel comfortable with your camera on, leave it on. If not, and you need a moment, that's okay too. This is a place where women come to be in community, to feel encouraged, to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel valued. And so here's what I want to start the day with, right? I want to say happy November. Can you believe November is already here? I recently read something that said gratitude is one of the few universal energizers. And so what I'd love to do is I want you to give us some energy. Let's get it flowing. Let's get that positivity flowing. Drop in the chat one thing that you're grateful for today. Go ahead, do it right now. Type in something. Is it a word? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Is it you're at home? Is it the fall weather, right? Like there's so much to express gratitude for. And if it really is a thing that energizes us in a good way, then let's sprinkle that gratitude around and let's see what other folks are saying. And Kate, this is your cue. I can't, for some reason, access chat right now. So if you can just call out some of the things that we're hearing, that would be great. What are people telling us?
They're glad to be alive. They're glad to have a job, glad to be home, glad to be in community with people, grateful for life and for family, grateful for a workout and community mindset. I like that slash that you had going there, Kat. Yeah,
Awesome.
work from home is very nice. Thankful for colleagues and friends.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Keep them coming. If you didn't get a chance to put something in the chat, keep it coming. You can do it more than once. Gratitude is never out of fashion. It's never out of time. And so I just appreciate you sharing. I'm grateful today for the opportunity. What we were talking about earlier is getting some positive feedback from the women in community before you all joined. It's put a spark in me. I got some things to do and it's like, it's already there. You just need to put it on paper. And I'm like, okay, let me do that. So stay tuned for some updates on some stuff. Thank you, sisters, for just encouraging me and dropping something in my cup this morning, because that's what this is all about. All right, what are we going to do when you're here? We're going to tell you about the program. I'm going to give you a couple of high-level highlights. You know, what is this about? Why is it an ideal program for you? And then we are going to hear from 4 recent Will alumna who are going to share their response. I'm going to ask them a couple of questions. They're going to respond, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. Direct your questions directly to them. Unless it's something administrative or logistic wise, I want them to respond to your questions because you're here to learn from real women who did this program and what is the experience meant for them. And so all I've done is said, here's a couple of questions that I plan to ask, you know, feel free, speak from your heart. And so, you know, this is the place where we can share honestly and authentically about our experiences and why this program was meaningful to them. So really quickly, Will is 40 years old and she looks damn good, y'all. I'm so excited to be part of this program and leading it, coming as, you know, from a participant to now being in the position of the director. It is a humbling and honoring job to walk into your purpose and lead a program such as this. I am always excited. I never get tired of talking to women, working with women, understanding what their goals are, and being on the journey with them. So this program is for a cross sector of women who we say mid-level to C-suite, but to be quite honest, we've had entry-level women who say, I am looking for something that is gender specific and intergenerational, and I need community. And so if that is you, then this is a program you should definitely consider. We develop an understanding of the region. We do immersive experiential training, and the program is 3 months long with 4 seminar days and 3 field days. And the difference between seminar days, really quickly, is field days are out in the community and the classroom is, the community is our classroom, and you get to meet a lot of different women from different sectors talking about their leadership journey, talking about the impact of their organizations, and just, you know, answering your questions about, you know, what it means to be a leader and what it means to lead in this region. Our seminar days are more focused on the individual leader and doing that individual work so that you can build your confidence, your clarity, and your voice around the things that are important to you and the contribution that you want to make. Yes, it's professional development, but I would also say that it is a personal development program. So you get the best of both. I feel like leading starts with you first. And in order for you to lead where you live, learn, work, play, and worship, you have to understand who you are as a leader. And Will is an organization or a program that allows you to do that. Ideal candidates, again, women who are in a range of roles in our community. You desire to gain a deeper understanding of the region, and that's through the women leaders that we bring to the various field days for you to have conversation with. You're seeking to build and or refine your professional and civic and personal leadership skills. You're intending to use what you're learning so that you can create change, not only in your organization, but in the broader community, and that you can make the commitment to participate. If you're not here, you can't really contribute or gain from the experience. And the experience is unique. Although we have a framework that we work within, the cohort is who I really build the program around. And so often people will say, well, did you all do this particular thing? And sometimes yes, and sometimes no, because I'm really trying to customize the experience for the cohort who's in front of me. So there's a little wiggle room because I want to make sure that I'm meeting your need and we're able to walk on this journey together. Here is a snapshot of the calendar. This is on our website. This is also on the digital campus. And so if you want to make sure that your schedule is clear, and if you're invited to participate in the program, you want to, block off these dates already. Let folks know I'm going to be focusing on me. And so I need these days blocked off on my schedule. Okay, so that's that. And what will you gain? This is important, and we're getting ready. I'm queuing up our alumna to get ready to join us, but you're going to gain an understanding of yourself and your personal leadership style and brand. You're going to have unparalleled exposure to some of the most influential women in our region. You are going to gain some tools and experience in leading crucial and sometimes the difficult conversations that we need to have in order to solve the biggest problems that our region is experiencing. You're going to improve your collaboration, your communication, your facilitation and negotiation skills, among others. You're going to leave with a greater sense of personal commitment and responsibility to that region. And finally, you are going to be able to form deep and lasting relationships with a diverse network of peers that are not only within the cohort, but are other alumni of all of the Focus programs. And right now, Focus is 10,000 plus alumni strong. And so when you join Focus, you join that network of individuals. Everywhere you go, you'll find someone who is a Focus trained leader or who knows one. It is quite amazing. When I'm out in community, the number of people like, oh yes, I graduated from Focus, and they tell me about their program or they tell me what year. And it's always a joy to meet those individuals, because what I have found is they are so willing and generous with their time and their resources and wanting to help other Focus trained leaders to succeed. And so they know what it's like because they've been through the program. And so they're so willing to help and support others. All right, so here we go. This is the time you've really been waiting for. Get ready to meet some of the fabulous recent graduates of the program. We're going to invite Dee, Laura, Sam, and Vanessa to come to the stage. Kate's going to spotlight them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and listen to, their experience. And as you think of the questions or the things that you want to know, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll either respond in the chat or invite you to come off mute and just ask your question. And remember, there is no silly or dumb question. If you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it, and we want the value of your question to help all of us learn a little bit more about this experience and what the possibility is for you to join. So Kate, can you bring everyone up to the stage, and we'll get started with a few questions. How's everyone feeling so far? I barely took a breath, right? I just was like, zoom. All right, here's Dee to the stage. We've got Sam. All right, couple more. We're waiting to hear from Vanessa and Laura. Will bring them to the stage and then I'll go ahead and get started. While we're waiting, what is something that you're looking forward to learn from these women? Why don't you drop it in the chat? Maybe I'll switch up my questions and just go directly to what is something that you're interested in knowing as we're waiting to hear from them. Okay, they're all here. All right, here goes our superstars. This is the ones that you really came to hear and learn from today. So what I would like you to do, the first question is, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to introduce yourself, give us, high level, something about yourself that you want to share with the group, and then respond to the question. Here's the question. Why did you apply to Women in Leadership? What did you hope to gain? I'll kick it to Dee first. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself and then respond to the question?
Hi, thank you so much again for inviting me. I'm Deanna Finch. I'm the executive director of United for Children. That is my my career role right now. Who I am a wife, a mother of a 23-year-old son. I am many more things other than the title that I carry on my business card. And just that little nugget of truth for you. Why did I apply for Focus St. Louis? A couple of reasons. One, in my role and looking at my annual reviews and how to be a better executive director, the board approved a budget to pay for me to have some professional development to improve. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I've always wanted to be a Focus St. Louis something alumni, because when I have looked at all of the LinkedIn, the Facebook, and all the things and all the events and everything's Focus St. Louis, all these super cool people, everybody that's cool in St. Louis is a Focus something alumni. I'm like, they're alumni, all these people are cool. I want to be cool too. And there had to be something to it. I looked into it. It was something I've always wanted to do, especially with the women in leadership. And I had the opportunity to finally do it. I will share that up until I basically made myself do that with my board's suggestion, I didn't think that I was qualified to be a Focus St. Louis alumni. It was not cool enough, like all those cool people. And I just want to put that little nugget of truth in your ear too.
Thank you, Dee. The message she's letting you know, y'all, is you are already qualified because you're here. We value you and you're already enough because you are who you are. And so, Dee, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to kick it over to Sam. Quick intro, and then why did you decide to apply to Will?
Sorry, I was about to answer a question in the chat. So can I answer that after I do my introduction? So first, I go by Sam. My name is Samantha Williams. I say Samantha's to make sure the check cashes at the bank. But once you know me, I go by Sam. I worked in politics and government for about 10 years. Worked for a member of Congress, former Congressman William Lacey Clay. Worked for the Illinois State House for about 3 years. And why I signed up for Will specifically is because I was so used to being in the shadow. So I was so used to being that person, when you watch CNN and you see them people running in the background in the suits, that was me. So I was used to shying away from the camera, shying away from the spotlight, shying away from stepping up to the plate. And so I took this new position at that time as the external affairs manager at Missouri American Water. And I didn't realize it was a junior exec position. I didn't realize I would have to be on the news. And so I was like, oh crap, I need some help. And so I signed up to, get those skills. I also kind of felt a little bit lost in what I wanted to do. And I wanted to align my purpose, my power, and passion. And when I tell you, I know this sounds like an understatement, but it really did change my life. It made me realize that there were certain things that I need to develop, not just professionally, but personally. I stay in contact with a lot of the women in my cohort. They've become like extended family to me. It encouraged me to kind of start going to therapy, kind of working on myself. And so as Yemi mentioned, it made me realize that I was ready to do something a little more impactful in my community. And so it helped me launch into a new career at Ameren as a community development executive. But I do want to answer one question in the chat. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead, but I have to say this. I saw a question saying, what is the benefit for someone who lives and works in St. Charles County? So I would say, to me, this program is very regional. We had some people in our cohort from the Illinois side of the region. And I remember when I interviewed for Women in Leadership, I think it was the former mayor, I know it was elected official in St. Charles, actually interviewed me because my background was in government and politics. So I would say, regardless of where you sit in the region, it's very, very helpful. And no one makes you feel like, oh, this is a downtown St. Louis thing. You know, it's really not that. I think the program tries to be very, very inclusive.
Thank you, Sam. I saw that too, and I was about to respond. I was like, that might be the question she wants to respond to. So I appreciate you taking some of the questions right now in the chat. Laura, I just see you next on my screen, so I'm going to invite you to just do a quick intro and tell us, why did you apply to Women in Leadership?
Thanks, Shayla. And I just have to say, it's been a little bit of a rough week, nothing like insurmountable, but this is just like really, like you said, refilled my cup. Like I've missed seeing you guys, and just it's nice to see everybody. My name is Laura Raisler. In my professional life, I actually just switched jobs. I'm now at Mercy Health Foundation as a senior annual giving officer, which I'm thrilled about. Prior to that, I spent 5 years at the Epilepsy Foundation, and most recently was the chief executive officer. When I was thinking about this question, and Dee, I was nodding so much when you were talking. My story about my will journey is that I had some friends that participated about a decade ago. So I only remember because it was after my little guy was born, and they really encouraged me to do it. And I just, I was like, oh, I have a newborn and finances and all of this. And I kept saying the stars didn't align. But in hindsight, I think I didn't think I was good enough or ready for it. That really resonated with me. And I just kind of kept pushing it off. And then I was working with a consultant at the foundation, and she said, have you heard about Women in Leadership? I said, yes, I've been wanting to do it for years. And some feedback I had received from my board of directors at the time was, that they needed me to find my voice, and I didn't disagree. And so I finally made it happen, and I'm proud of myself for doing so. I don't believe in regrets, and I think that this was the time for me to do it, and everything happens for a reason. So, Laura 10 years ago wasn't ready for whatever reason to do the program, but now I was, and I'm thrilled that I did. And I did want to, Jamie posted in the chat a question about, why Will versus Leadership St. Louis. And I think if I dug a little bit deeper, maybe I didn't think I was ready for Leadership St. Louis, but I also very much value the sisterhood and being with other women. And I felt like for me, that was the right fit. I maybe someday I'll do Leadership St. Louis because it's also an incredible program, but I just knew there was, for me personally, a lot of value in being with other women and growing together. So that for me was why I chose Will to start. But yeah, Dee, we're now the cool kids. I'm just kidding. It's just great to see so many women on this call, and hope, feel free to drop more questions in the chat. So thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you, Laura. Yami, if you're still on, maybe you want to respond to that too, because Yami leads the Leadership St. Louis program, and it is geared towards those senior executives and leaders. And it's not that it's not for the women who are also in Women in Leadership. Some just decide what is the best fit for me now. So I'll have her answer that maybe in the chat and then bring her on. But I want to get to Vanessa, right? Because Vanessa didn't get a chance to introduce herself yet and to share what made her to decide to apply for Will.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Vandegrift. I am the Department Head of Advanced Graduate Programs and also Associate Professor at Lindenwood University. And, it's pretty simple. The information that I received about Will was actually via the website, and then the informational session that y'all are participating in right now. So for me, it was to foster leadership and professional development. But then upon a reflection, I did it personally. It was for personal reasons. You get into your journey, right? And then your journey at times becomes stagnant. And it was that moment of stagnation that it was something that for me to say, how can I increase my contribution? How can I increase my contribution to myself, to my family, and also to the region? So that's why I applied.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yami, I'm going to ask you the question. Some people are asking, what's the difference between Women in Leadership and Leadership St. Louis? And should you do one over the other, do one first? What would be your suggestion to individuals? Because they're both really great programs, but people need to understand, maybe, is this my time to do that? What am I really looking to get? What is the commitment? So could you tell us a little bit more about Leadership St. Louis before we have some additional questions with the panel?
Absolutely. I'm glad these questions are being asked. If we look at our Leadership St. Louis program, it actually builds upon, I would say, leaders' existing competency, and it allows them to develop, just deeper understanding of how we can create a better St. Louis region. So if you look at Women in Leadership, for example, it's more skill-based, although you'll get the issue education, but within LSL, you get the issue education. You're in a community with other leaders across sectors, and it's through a series of immersive seminars that participants will learn such things as economic development, education, racism and social justice, poverty, criminal justice system, arts and culture, and the environment. And it is not unusual for us to have individuals go through our Women in Leadership program and then go through our Leadership St. Louis program. I would highlight that our LSL graduates definitely possess a deeper understanding of the community and how they can use their leadership skills to solve the complex civic issues that we have in our community. And now you have a network with which to do it with. Last night, I think I saw an email come through from alums of our program that have worked together, for-profit person and a nonprofit person, and there's an event that's taking place, and I want to say maybe even tomorrow, that they're now saying if it wasn't for the connection and the relationship that we were able to build in this program, the event that they're now partnering on wouldn't have happened. So take that within the context of what I've shared. You have the leadership skills. Now you can take things to the next level. You have a strong sense of what your personal leadership is before going into that program. And you have a desire to work collaboratively to begin to work on our region's stickiest issues. So I hope that helps.
I hope it does. I think it will, but if not, and you have more questions, ask away. What we do, and Will in particular, all the programs, but Will specifically, if you've asked a question and you didn't get the answer, ask again, ask it another way, ask more, like continue to be curious so that you can learn what you need to learn from the individuals that are in the room with you, right? And so that's what we want you to do. We also are very willing, Yami and myself, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. If you shoot us an email and say, hey, I was on the info session, I want to talk a little more, we're happy to schedule a quick call with you to just help, kind of think through what are your steps or what's your strategy in your own development as a leader. Right. And so anyway, I'll just put that out there. Awesome. Okay. So the next question is this, and I'll start with Sam. What surprised you most about your Will experience?
That's a good question. So I think what surprised me most was getting to know the women that came and spoke to our class. And when they said, here's my phone number, here's my email, they meant it. So I've been in a lot of different programs where people, they put their information up there, you reach out to them, and it may take 5 weeks for them to add you on LinkedIn. So the difference with Focus is, like, I'll give you an example. So like Mayor Tashara Jones, we asked her, like, what reality TV do you like to watch? I start, connecting with Leslie Gill, like we text all the time now. Dr. Marie People spoke to us. She's been a mentor of mine now. And these are all women that I've stayed in contact with. Kristen Mosley, who was in my Will cohort, she and I like meet up all the time. And so I think what I'm most surprised about is just, again, the one thing I have to say to me, because I've been in a lot of these different leadership things in different states, I think what's unique about Focus and Women in Leadership is the women that agreed to speak to the cohort, they agreed to let the cohort in. So they're already coming in with their guards down. They're going to talk to you about what's on the nightstand at night, even if it's not always appropriate. They're willing to give you advice on like your career moves, so it feels really like a sisterhood. And I mean, when I see them, we just hug each other. Like Tamika, who was in my cohort, we saw each other at a gala and like we just hugged. And so just knowing you have that support system helps.
Thank you. I put in the chat, we had one speaker and all like the whole cohort went wild. We had a speaker, Rachel, come and she talked about when I was in Will and LSL, she did both programs. She said, I found my professional soulmate, and everybody stopped and said, what do you mean by that? Because we've never heard it stated that way. And she's like, there was a woman in the group who we got to know each other. We spent time together. And now this woman, like I let her speak into my life. I speak into hers. She is that person who I can go to when I have a challenge, when I have something to celebrate, when I'm contemplating my next move. This woman is the woman that I call, and I wouldn't have met her if I wasn't in one of these programs. And so then everyone's like, I got to find my professional soulmate. Like immediately, I think there was a brunch that was organized by Will 75 and people were like, I'm finding you, you're out there, sister. And so that's something else. You know, it is a really great experience, but there's some lasting forming relationships that sometimes stay at the professional level, but very easily and quickly go personal, because we all find that there's that person that we can trust, that we can be seen and heard and valued, and that will speak truth to us. And when we need a little pick-me-up, they'll encourage us, right? And so thank you for sharing that, Sam. Vanessa, why don't you tell me what surprised you most about your experience? Especially because you found us, you know, you looked us up, right? And so what we put on the, you know, the website, you're like, oh yeah, but what surprised you most about your Will experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, I researched all as much as I could. So Will is supposed to, you know, focus on supporting your personal, your professional, and civic leadership. And I think for me, what surprised me, that it offered a broader understanding of something. And that's, for me, the something was the nature of influence. And, you know, upon reflection, it was less about what our successes are, but the why of our successes. Like, as in, what were the conditions? What were the strategies? What was the action steps that contributed to those successes? For example, if you were, I don't know, recently promoted, like, okay, that's what it is. You were recently promoted, but there's more behind the scenes of that. And that involved you. And so for me, upon reflection, I was looking at the common themes of my successes. And the common themes were influential. It was like the part of like that nature of influence. It's not about like the number of people you can influence, but just the reaching of the right people. That's what surprised me. So it was just this broad understanding of just breaking down some walls and just really going deeper into the successes.
Thank you, Vanessa. Dee, what would you say to that? You know, we heard a little bit, and maybe you want to expound on it, but why did you, you know, what surprised you most about this opportunity for you?
Surprise. I'm going to write that down because, you guys know I have a little bit of a squirrel brain because I get really excited about things and I answer a question that's not even asked. One, I want to just follow up. We're all cool. And that was my point, is that there nobody that is a Focus alumni was too cool for school. So everyone belongs in this. And that is what was surprising to me, right? To go back to that, to go, oh, wow. There's so much more in common. There are so many more common threads between all these women here in the same room. And for me, coming from a fairly traumatic childhood and I was very open about that, you know, having some mommy issues, like having some fear around being in community with women. Women have historically harmed each other in a lot of ways, and it's difficult to be vulnerable and open with each other out of fear. And what I found really, really quickly is that there were so many more commonalities. People who you thought, you know, there's no way they would have an insecurity about this thing, right? They do, because they're human just like us. And that was what was surprising to me, that how quickly, I mean, it was less than one full session before we really truly started connecting vulnerably and authentically. And I was able to, by the end of, the cohort, be able to tell a story about my life that I've never been able to tell people before, especially women. And so that trust building with complete strangers was possible. And that was something that was surprising to me because of my history and past. So that was surprising, and also that it didn't stop there. That those connections and relationships really did keep going. Laura is in my personal board of directors. Vanessa is actually coming on to my board of directors at the organization. So that was really cool. And I'm just so thankful for that process.
Thank you, Dee. Laura, what surprised you most about this experience?
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. Thank you, Dee. I was just joking about everyone is a cool kid and everyone is welcome. But I think, it kind of speaks back to that imposter syndrome that we all were feeling and have felt. And I think that was something that surprised me, was regardless of the sector or the time in the field or the time in your life, we all had the same struggles, the same insecurities, the same feelings of imposter syndrome. And for me, it was very validating, that I was having these feelings, but then we worked together to overcome that. And that's not to say that it's an overnight switch or an on and off switch. I think it's something that we'll always continue to work on. But, I have built my personal board of directors. Dee is definitely on mine, and these connections are so deep. And someone had asked in the chat, are the sessions in person or virtual? And we were actually, our cohort, which was last spring, was hybrid. And I think that we all have a little reticence about virtual things. So we had some virtual and some in person. I think I underestimated the depth of the connections that we would make. I mean, like Dee said, that first Zoom meeting, it probably was within the first 15 minutes. It was like, I am where I'm supposed to be, already making connections, sending texts while we're on the Zoom, connecting to people, scheduling lunches and coffees. It really is a very deep connection, that continues to this day. So those are kind of some of the things that surprised me the most.
Thank you all. And I was just responding to that question too, like the women that are here, they had a virtual experience primarily. So now we're back in person. Our plan is to continue in person. We do have a digital campus, and Focus will continue to use that asset for some of the asynchronous learning, or that self-directed learning, either pre or post seminar days within the program. But we're all coming together in person now, and it's electrifying to be in the room in person as well. I'll be honest, I actually was a little intimidated. Like I learned Zoom and I was feeling good about it, and we were having great success. And then I was like, can I go back in front of a room and still, have the same kind of connection and whatnot? And y'all, it just made it better. It's just better. You have a different appreciation now for coming back in person and being able to be with people in the room. All right, one more question, and then we'll get to everyone else's questions before they have to sign off. It is, what is your greatest takeaway? And I'm actually going to combine them. Greatest takeaway and or, what would be your final comment to say, yes, you should do this program? Because someone's on the fence now trying to decide, is this for me? Should I do it? Is this the right time? Will my employer support me? Can I afford it? Like whatever, there's all kinds of questions. And so I want you to say, what was your biggest takeaway, and or what would be your advice to someone, kind of on the fence thinking about this opportunity? Laura, why don't I start with you first?
Absolutely. And Shayla, I'm sorry, I'm the worst. I don't ever follow directions. I'm going to answer both of them, but quickly. I think the biggest thing that I learned is that I'm my biggest advocate, but also my biggest detractor. And so for me, working on that detractor side and moving that a little bit more to advocating for myself, which I do think I've done this year, will really allowed me to find my purpose path. That was kind of one of our themes, and realign my professional life with that. But the other thing I would say to all of you on this call is to take the leap. Invest in yourself. There are financial resources available through Focus. Your employer, my employer was very receptive to this and supporting me on my leadership journey. And then to also make sure that you give what you can during the program. You will only get out of it what you put in. And so make the time to be present and engage with your sisters and make those connections, because you will reap what you sow. And I hope that you all consider it, because it is truly a life-changing program.
Thank you. You answered it splendidly. Sam, let's go to you. What would be your biggest takeaway and like your advice to someone taking this under consideration?
So my biggest takeaway is that I think the program focuses on the full person. You know, even though we do focus on women, there's a lot of elements to it that I think would be great for men as well. So, and what I mean by that is, like, a lot of times, you know, we may feel like we need to like segment our life, you know, like, here's my professional goals, here's what I'm trying to do, here's my personal goals, but we're juggling so many things in our life and it's all interconnected. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me. And then what was the second part of the question?
What would be your advice then to someone? Should
Okay.
they do it? Should they do it now? What's your thought?
I would say definitely do it first. Especially if your employer is going to pay for it, what you can do if you have an employer that's kind of on the fence, is like, well, I don't know what this is going to do, make the business case. So what I did before I came to Focus was I did research, I made a business case, and I said, you know, for this amount, your return on investment is, I'll have more clarity in my role. I'll be able to have a network that not only I will be able to tap into, but the company can tap into. So always make that business case. And a lot of times I feel like we may like tell ourselves no before we even ask, you know? And so you might be saying like, oh, well, like, I'll give you an example. The company is going through budget cuts right now, or it's a tough time, inflation's high, and, you know, I don't know if they're going to cover this, so I'm not going to ask. I was undergoing a situation where the company was cutting costs, but they did invest in this program for me. So do not shy away from that. And then I would say, if you're on the fence and if you're like, I have too much on your plate, do it. Because if you want to just look from like the business standpoint, after I did Focus, I had more clarity in my position. I felt more confident. I received 2 different raises at my job. I had a 5% raise before I left. I was able to network, and Megan Warnick, who was my cohort, like in my will cohort, I was applying for AM and I said, hey girl, what's the salary range for this position? And she looked it up for me. So she helped me negotiate my salary at my new job. So you'll gain people who will support you in every aspect of your life. So even if you worry, the investment, trust me, you're going to get more on the back end.
Thank you. Dee, what would you say is the highlight and or your case for being a part of the program?
Oh my goodness. The takeaway is that it's not going to fix all the things. It's going to give you light. It's going to give you structure to the things that are going on in your head, and all the questions and the uncertainty. And it gives you a community to where you know you're not alone. And I have still not done a lot of the things that I learned, right? There are things I haven't followed through on the things that I wanted to do, but it's a learning process. And it's one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire career. And you're already a leader by being here and investing and wanting to invest in yourself. There is whatever you think a leader is. And if you don't think you are a leader, get that out of your mind and call me immediately. And I'll let you know that you are already a leader. I'll tell you every day. So that would be my advice. There was a question that I said I wanted to answer about if you're new to St. Louis. There is another program, I think, that you can learn more about St. Louis, but also I'm not originally from St. Louis. And that was one of the things that I wanted to have more impact or understanding of the St. Louis region to have more impact here. I think it's important to know the community you're in and you're wanting to impact and work in. So it's a great opportunity to learn more about the St. Louis region too, if, you know, that's what happens. Did I answer all the questions correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Vanessa, we'll ask you for that final thought about what was the highlight and what would be your advice to someone. And then we're going to open it up to the questions. So we've got lots in the chat. Kate's going to help us kind of fill them. And then you can also, we might invite some folks to come off mute and just ask the question directly to our panel. But Vanessa, what would you share as the biggest takeaway and your advice for someone considering the program?
Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway was newfound professional relationships. I want to believe that as rising women leaders, we seek in-depth experiences, we seek powerful conversations, and the Will program, it gives you that. It gives you multiple opportunities for that. And it also identifies key players. And the key players aren't even, they go beyond your organization. Like the key players are throughout the region. And that was for me, the biggest takeaway. I would say if you are ready to increase your level of contribution, this is it. This is that time. This is the program to do it. And I want you, I mean, I want you all to advance together. I want you to advance together with confidence and with credibility. And this is that opportunity. And what I love is that, so you're in Will, right? You're in those months, but also there's opportunities after you graduate. As hints, right now, we have 4 that are alum, you know, of Will. So you have those opportunities, and Kate and Shayla are just so energized and so wonderful to work with. You know, that's another advantage and benefit of the program. You know, like if you're ready to become, let's say, a trusted advisor to somebody, this is it. You know, if you're ready to engage by sharing experiences, and these are your achievements, your successes, your struggles, this is it. This is that time for you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Can I
Thank
add?
you all. Yes, Dee, go ahead. And then
Can I add
I'll
one more
open it
thing?
for questions. Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa, that gave me goosebumps. Thank you. And the things that actually came after Focus, I would say, other, you know, I already mentioned the personal board of directors and those personal connections, but also because of my relationship in that community, I took the dive to take the strategic doing, get my practitioner's certification in strategic doing, because I learned about that through Shayla. And it's something that I bring to my everyday life, not in full, you know, like the full workshop, but there are pieces of that I bring to my everyday life and to my team. And it is improving how I work, how I think about things, how I think about my strengths and assets and all the things. So that was one of the thing that really, after Focus, after graduating, I was like, yes, it gave me that confidence to take that class and get certified. And then also Power of Paradox. I don't know if Deborah is going to be on the next cohort, but she spoke into me, and I was so nervous to talk to her after she did the emotional or the leadership EQ test and assessment, so in depth and so right on to give you real practical things to take away to improve your emotional intelligence on. And then when we had our one-on-ones, she just inspired me so much to really lean into what makes Dee click and how it, like, to not be ashamed about how I got here and why I got here and all the things, that this is where I am at. And there's a reason for that. And there's a bigger purpose to it. And I can thrive, not to survive and keep taking, you know, the answers that are being given to me. I get to choose. And I just, yeah, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's something, and I put it in the chat. Strategic Doing is a certification that gives you 10 new skills about how to build networks and collaborate and solve issues, whether they're, you know, complex regional issues or organizational issues, or I've heard people use them within their family to kind of come together to decide, you know, next steps for your family, right? EQI 2.0 is one of the assessments that we do in the program, and our facilitator, Deb, offers each person or woman in the cohort 1 hour of free coaching just to help you kind of unravel that assessment and what does it mean need. And then if you choose to continue to work with her, that's on you. And I've had individuals who have like, I've hired Deb as my coach because she has this great knowledge and insight that will help me further my career or further my leadership. And so we're bringing these great women and resources and tools to you in the program. And something else Dee said, you get like a full toolkit, right? You get all this stuff. You're like, I got all this stuff. What do I do with it? And sometimes it's not for the immediate moment. Sometimes it's post-program 6 months later that you go, oh, we talked about that. Now I'm ready to act on it, right? And so sometimes it's just about knowing the connection, knowing the resource, and being at a time in your career or your personal life where you're ready to access that information and decide what you want to do about it. Okay, I've talked long enough. Questions? Kate, how do you feel?
Yeah, actually, for interest of time, I've condensed a few together, and I think I might be able to shed some light on. Someone asked about what's unique about being in fellowship with women leaders, and I think it's been touched on, but there was also a continued question about the difference between LSL and will, and then schedule as well. If it's just women in the room, I think we approach each other differently. I've seen that from middle schoolers to adult women, so you have a different conversation. You just come to community in a different way, but my time is also a mantra because is it your time this semester, next semester? Like Yami said, we've had participants do multiple programs. So whatever's your time, your season, but that's how it's a little different. Also timing, there was a question about schedule. So LSL is you could say a full year. So it's a 9-month program, whereas Will is a little bit more compact. It being 3 months, they're about 2 to 3 weeks apart. The sessions are, whereas LSL is once a month. So if you've got a lot on your plate and there's a lot of travel in this season of your life, no one's shaking their finger and saying, where were you? You weren't present. I will email you and say, where were you? You weren't present. But we want you to take part and be as present as possible with your time. So that's kind of the compare and contrast different. Another thing that Dee was mentioning and that Shayla mentioned is these leaders help you discover the answers that you might already know you have, answers that you need in a different season of your life. Deb is not, and Shayla are not prescribing anything for you. Shayla changes the content for every class that she teaches. It's something new. It's a new theme. It's something unique. So that's another thing that's unique, but focuses on unique issues for our region. So that's what's special about the organization, and the different groups approach that differently as well. To summarize some of those questions, ones that we hadn't necessarily touched on, portion of participants that are in nonprofits, it depends on the class, as little as 20%, as many as 70%, depends on which group you're looking at and which class, and again, kind of in which season. And then again, the connecting with the community, that looks a little different if we wanted to add some of that. And then one person, Kat, I will be emailing you finance information if anyone has other logistic questions like that, or what the process looks like. I'll be adding that to the chat as well.
Thank you, Kate. Nice summary. There's probably still more. I think it's Chanel had a question and said she wanted to ask. So I'm like inviting you to come off mute and ask your question. If it's directed to one of the panel, please just specifically direct it, or if it's kind of open, that works too. Oh, I think you're on mute if you're asking. Are you asking?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, now we do. Wonderful.
I'm so sorry. All right, so I just stepped into another office real quick because in my little cubicle, there's people around.
Okay.
I came on this because I need to be focused as a business person, and I'm willing to pay for some ongoing support, like everything that I've heard. I have not looked at the timing of the courses and things of that nature. I did hear you all talk about your employers investing in you and all of that. Well, I'm not like coming from that type of industry, you know what I mean? I work for the city of St. Louis, and you know, they're not doing anything like that. But I do have my own company, you know, which is a consulting business tax firm, you know. So this is for myself and for what God has given me to do in the future. So my thing is, I hear everybody saying about employers or whatever, people are coming from other, corporate industries and stuff like that. Like, how is this helping someone such as myself as an entrepreneur? You know what I mean? Is it like so much that, it's really like this program is for people that work for corporations, or is this for everyone?
It's for everyone, but there might be one of the panelists who wants to respond. And we've had entrepreneurs and business owners join the cohorts as well. Dee or Sam, I think I saw you first nodding maybe. So if you want to jump in and respond to the question, I'm happy to.
Thank you. I'll go back in now and I'll turn off.
I'll jump in really, really quick. I would say, well, first, I don't know this, but is it a tax? Can you write it off on your taxes? Like if it's a small business expense?
Well, yes,
okay.
You can write off anything that is conducive to your business for sure.
Okay, then go ahead. That's the first thing. The second thing is there were a lot of women in the cohort that were entrepreneurs or solo practitioners, or even if they did have a primary position where it was like more of a 9-to-5, if you will, they had side businesses as well. Okay. I would say from a personal perspective, even if I didn't have an employer paying for this, I would still do it, because when I tell you people give you the real in this, like where else are you going to get the mayor to give you the real on the day-to-day? Where else are you going to get like high up in the police department, our city managers? So you get all these women who are in different sectors giving you inside information, and then you can connect with them, have coffee with them. So if anything, on the front end, you're learning how to be a leader, how to connect. On the back end, you're also getting clientele, because just like we were speaking about this before we open it up for everybody, someone in the Women in Leadership creates t-shirts. And so we want to support that person in her business. So you will inherit a clientele as well, because you get to know these people. So I think there's two prongs that you'll benefit from the program.
And Shayla, if I can jump in, I actually worked for an organization that wasn't able to support my women in leadership journey. And so I made that investment myself, and it is a big commitment, but I got so much more than what I invested out of it. You know what I mean? It may not be tangibly, like, you can't monetize what you get out of it. And so, and I recognize that isn't feasible for everyone, but there are some financial supports available. Kate dropped in the chat. And so I think it's absolutely open to everyone. And I think that you would get a lot out of it as an entrepreneur. And yeah.
Entrepreneur to entrepreneur, you better sign up. I don't know how much you charge for your services, but divide that by 2,000, and that's how many clients you need to increase, and then you'll get that increase through this opportunity. So yeah, and there's scholarship opportunities as well, and I've pledged a donation to help with that with this group.
Thank you. So yes, it's for you and anybody else. If we missed your questions, let us know. The last thing I want to do as we're wrapping up for today is just to remind you, we started with It's My Time. And I just want you to know that let Will be the catalyst for your leadership transformation. It's time to invest in you. It's time to release what no longer serves you. It is time to embrace the new possibility of what you can learn from this program and this group of women that you will join. It's time to be unapologetically you and stop being small and stop shrinking or thinking you're not enough. It is time to level up and lead. And finally, it's time to thrive. This program is for you, whoever you are out there. If you expressed interest, then there is something here for you. You heard it from the women who joined us, and I want to thank Sam, Laura, Dee, and Vanessa for sharing. I want to thank all of you for your time. If you have more questions of me or you want to connect, feel free to email me. My email is there. Go to our website, learn more about the other programs that we have. And finally, I love to be on LinkedIn and connected to other women. So if you want to just scan the QR code, that'll take you directly to my LinkedIn and we can connect there. But I want to just wrap up again with expressing gratitude that today you spent a little bit of time thinking about investing in your growth and your development as a leader. And I hope that you will consider doing it with Women in Leadership and allowing me to facilitate and be your guide on that journey. Again, thank you for your time today. We're signing off. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out and join us. Kate, you got some going out music?